I got a lot of hate back in the day when, in 2020, I made a video asking the question of whether Halo Infinite would come to PS5. And I admit, back then, that was a bit of a clickbaity title, and people got pretty mad at me for it, at least the couple people who even watched it. But I did have some actual merit to my argument there, though a lot of people denied it at the time, and 5 years have passed, and well, I really can't say much has changed in my opinion. The only thing that has changed is the actual likelihood of Halo coming to PS5. Obviously, Microsoft is in a bad spot. I'd say they're kind of failing worse than Sega, at least in the grace department. Sega had the decency to just kind of bow out. They knew their time was over after the Dreamcast. They didn't try to drag it out for another console and really crash their business. But what Xbox is doing is really just kind of sad right now. I mean, Costco won't even sell their consoles anymore, and the prices for a base like Series X being higher than a PS5 Pro is genuinely ridiculous. And a lot of people really still won't call out Microsoft for, the anti-consumer practices they actually do, because Microsoft spent a lot of time, good old Phil Spencer spent a lot of time drilling that Microsoft is consumer-friendly message into gamers' heads, and when gamers get pigeonholed and start putting their head in the sand, that is really the end of it. But, Xbox has been on the decline since the Xbox One, and the Series X generation has really proven that. Even though I did own a Series X for a time before, selling it because, Game Pass kind of became bad. These consoles just weren't that great, because I had an Xbox One, and when I got a Series X, I was very, shocked by how it looked and felt exactly the same. It didn't feel like there was a next-gen leap at all, and I think that's really what exemplifies how Microsoft is kind of treating the Xbox brand now. It's not a console, it's not a respected piece of hardware, it's just kind of an iteration thing. It's just kind of the same thing as a Windows machine. I mean, that's why the Xbox interface looks like Windows 8 still. God help us all. But, overall, for half this generation, yes, Xbox was, humiliatingly failing, but they were still considered a big console. They were still considered a mainstay, and most of that reason was Game Pass, because a lot of people consider Game Pass to be the best value in gaming. Even now, some people still argue with the price hikes I'll discuss in a moment that Game Pass is still the best deal in gaming. Now, frankly, if we're being real, Game Pass is actually not the best deal in gaming, because aside from the first-party titles that Microsoft puts out, which, let's be real, aren't that big of a draw anyway, PlayStation Plus, Extra, and Premium have much of the same library as Game Pass for a cheaper price. And why is it a cheaper price, you might ask? Because Sony does not put all of their games day and date on PlayStation Plus Extra, and PlayStation consumers have not been trained to purchase a subscription model for their games. The crazy thing you might not know is that Game Pass, like every television and movie streaming service, is not a profitable business model. In fact, it can't be a profitable business model, especially in the games industry, because of how much money things take to make, right? Games often are successful because they get a lot of money from the consumer. You pay $60, $70, and if you're on a Nintendo console, $80 for a game, and that money just goes straight to the developer, or it's split between the developer and the publisher, but the point is, it's a large sum of money, and when you get millions of sales, that money racks up over time. Now, you put your game on Game Pass, yes, you're getting a big injection of money from Daddy Microsoft at the start, but when you when you're looking to the future for your Xbox player base, you are making no additional money. On PlayStation, sure, people may wait for a sale. On Steam, people will definitely wait for a sale. But you will still be getting that money over time. You will still be getting revenue. On Xbox, games like Outriders from Square Enix, or a lot of indie games, they basically get that Microsoft money and nothing else. Now, obviously, just because Game Pass is failing, and failing is still a strong word, it's doing just about as well as most middling television streaming services. It's just that Microsoft has gaslit everyone into thinking Game Pass is different somehow. So, in addition, Microsoft's whole deal post-acquisition of Activision Blizzard King has essentially been to ditch the hardware market and, dear God, put all of our eggs in the Game Pass basket because we need to make money. And so, of course, that has led us to the ROG Xbox Ally, the latest Xbox hardware. Hardware is in heavy quotation marks because it's not even a dedicated Xbox machine. It's not something Microsoft made themselves, Calling this an Xbox console or an Xbox handheld is kind of a disgrace to Sony and Nintendo making real hardware that's unique for their devices. It's more just like a handheld PC, somewhat akin to a Steam Deck. I think it's more powerful than a Steam Deck, actually, that generally runs Windows and a Microsoft Store overlay that's mildly Xbox-themed. Now, the problem is this sounds well and good. This sounds like a fine product, I guess. Aside from diluting the Xbox brand in general, it's also $1,000 for the Ally X. Now, there is a cheaper variant, but that cheaper variant is still way more expensive than the Switch 2, which I would still argue is a little too expensive for me from a handheld perspective, but that's just my opinion. I think the problem is, this has shown with the Ally X, which is a bit of a fringe case, honestly, but also with the Game Pass price hikes to $30 and the Series X and S price hikes to $650 or $700 or something for those consoles. I think it shows that Microsoft truly does not care about the console market anymore. And the Ally in particular proves that Xbox is willing to just slap its logo on a third-party machine and call it a day. Now, what does this mean for the future? I believe that in the future, if there is a next Xbox console, which if reports are to be believed, is still actually up in the air entirely, it won't really be a dedicated Xbox. It'll just be a Windows machine. It'll just be a Windows box, and it'll be really damn expensive because, yeah, sure, this machine might be more powerful than whatever the PS6 ends up being on a literal direct sense, but the Series X was also more powerful than the PS5 from a raw power standpoint. That didn't stop the PS5 from being the better and more technologically adept console in the end. So, I mean, what's gonna happen, right? What exactly is Microsoft gonna end up doing? Are you going to have $1,000 Xbox handheld and a $1,500 10th generation Xbox branded computer tower, essentially desktop PC, next to the assumedly $500 to hopefully not $600 or $650 PS6, right? And the funny thing is, even if the PS6 is that expensive, oh boy, I'd much prefer the PS6 just based on that price. But when they do this and Microsoft becomes more software focused and their hardware is essentially for the suckers who still believe they're actually in the console race, well, what does that mean? Most Xbox games get PlayStation or Switch ports, and honestly, we're already seeing that happen. Forza Horizon, Gears of War, Indiana Jones, like most Bethesda games aside from Starfield, are on the PlayStation 5 now, and honestly, I do not see that slowing down anytime soon, except for a couple of token exclusives that Xbox keeps to Game Pass to try and drive up subscription numbers, but not for more than like 6 months to a year. It's essentially going to end up being, you know, a third-party publisher with a little bit of timed exclusivity. No different than, you know, Square Enix having exclusivity for Final Fantasy XVI to PS5 for a year, you know, stuff like that. And so that brings us back to the question, will Halo come to PS5? And with rumors swirling around right now that they're going to announce it at a Halo celebration, I think it is definitely possible that Halo will be coming to the PlayStation 5. Now, will I say it is a guaranteed fact of life right now, in like this year, that not Halo Infinite, sorry, no one plays that anymore, that Halo in general will come to the PS5? No, but I think within the next 2, 3, 4 years, I think Halo will come to the PlayStation 5 because, frankly, Xbox is a dying brand, and I think Microsoft is really just trying to squeeze what little they can left out of their diehard consumers. And when that well dries up, when they push people away, when that $30 increases to $35, when, you know, the games they're releasing just aren't that good, when Xbox, like, discontinues the Series S or the Series X, or they, you know, don't support them as well as they should, and all of this stuff, I just think maybe we will simply see Xbox and Microsoft finally assume the position of third-party publisher and simply put their games on Steam, on PlayStation, on Switch, and that'll be the way of things. And I know that's a hard thing for some people to accept. Xbox has been a facet of this medium for 25, almost 26 years now, and frankly, it is kind of unbelievable seeing such a behemoth fall like this, but it has been a very slow decline. I have been thinking about the ultimate demise of Xbox for a long time now, like 5 to even 7 years in the past. I already believed this would happen, and honestly, it is pretty vindicating seeing it literally happen. But we'll just have to wait and see how the situation develops over the next days, weeks, and months. And if something even crazier or more interesting happens, I guess I'll just have to make a follow-up video. But until then, enjoy your Xboxes while you can.